Okay. Shama, shall we start? We are live.
Namaskara. Lefafa again comes back to you with the fourth day of 9 minutes with Navadurga, which no longer has become 9 minutes, by the way. So today is the day of Kushmanda. Kushmanda, like the word suggests, andakara, the egg. So the energy that embodies, or the energy in the form of an egg that is capable of creation. Whenever we speak of creation, of course, mother is the entire, it's like the epitome. She's the epitome of creation for that matter. But what we are looking at, or who we want to resonate today with Kushmanda, is somebody who could design, who could innovate, who could think, and who could create something. We had a very interesting conversation when we were selecting the Ranis for this. And Tilottama suggested, let's have Shantala for this. For a moment, I was thinking, why Shantala? What has she created? Because I know about Shantala Devi. I know that she's the queen of, Vishnuvardhana, or Bitti Deva, before his conversion, of course. And but I also know that Shantala was an amazing dancer. And I am told that she is the, what I have studied rather, that she's the model for all the Shila Balikas of Belur Halebeedu. And she's the one who used to pose, and we had the Jaknacharis, the Jaknachari who would be, sculpting it. So, come on, after all, she's a dancer and she's just, posing. So why should she be Kushmanda? She looks beautiful, of course. But why Kushmanda was a question. And then I did some more study, did not want to negate Shantala's name immediately. So went ahead and did some more studies online. Of course, what I found was she's an amazing dancer and that she's the model for everything. And subsequently, what happened was, Bitti Deva had come there in order to, he saw the dance, he fell in love with her immediately. And subsequently, he, Shantala was dancing with another lady, and they were the closest of the friends. And therefore, Shantala refused to marry him, saying, you know what, you like the dance, and the dance was not performed only by me, it was performed by her also. So, if at all you should be marrying both of them or none of us. So then Bitti Deva agrees to marry both of them. And then one of the articles actually went around to say, Bitti Deva did not just marry the two of them, but also 5 others of them, so that it could be complete, so that it could be complete of, he wanted to appease Shantala. Finally, he made her the Pattadarani, that is the chief of the queens. And so that's about it. I mean, insofar as my knowledge about Shantala goes, it's just this. I discussed the same with Tilottama, and she said, absolutely not. The stories that I have heard is completely different. I come from that region, and now, and the interpretation that comes from Tilottama, from what she has heard, and I repeat again and again, that what she has heard from them, for me, insofar as what has been heard as stories from generations together, is still as valid and needs to be looked into. I am not here to say that that is the truth. We are not here making that claim. But what we are claiming here is that there is a different way of capturing or rather recording history in our traditional method or in our way. So our ways must not be discarded for the fact that they do not agree or they do not fall within the understanding of sources as per the Western idea. Over to Tilottama to understand what or who Shantala is as per the local traditions or the local stories. Tilu.
Thanks, Shama. So my version of the story is going to be very, very different from what most people have heard, or, like I said, as Shama mentioned, she was very surprised. I must say, okay, except for the people from the actual region. So the region that we are talking about is this place in Karnataka near a city called Hassan. And the temple that Shantala designed and built is the temple in Belur. And now Shantala was an amazing Bharatanatyam dancer. And the entire Belur temple is a temple to dance. So, as a dancer, as any kind of Indian dance, but I think especially Bharatanatyam, if you have learned and you go there, it is amazing. I would say of all the things I've seen in my life around the world, the Belur temple is easily the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I mean, the carvings are incredibly intricate, and if you're a dancer, you can see the different poses, the meaning of the different poses. It's amazing. So all of this is supposed to have been designed by her because she conceptualized. I mean, if you think of it, our temples, all these sculptures that we see on the temples, they were a way of recording things, and more importantly, they were a way of teaching people things, right? Because at that point, well, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have books. So you went to the temple, and in the process you learned a bunch of things. So this whole temple is actually meant for Bharatanatyam dancers to learn the different poses, etc. And in the temple, just in front of the Garbhagriha, you have the huge, floor to ceiling sculpture of Shantala herself, which she's supposed to have been the model for. Now, this temple, of course, took a very long time to carve, because if you see how intricate it was obviously, over something like 20 years or some such thing. And in the process of this, I'm sorry about the noise in the background. It's one of my dogs again. But anyway, in the process of this, what happened was that there was, of course, the sculptures were made by many different people. I mean, it couldn't have been one single sculptor sculpting the thing for the entire temple, but there was a main sculptor, the one who decides on the designs and decides on the proportions and so on and so forth. So in the process of all this, Shantala is supposed to have kind of fallen in love with the sculptor. Now, before I proceed with this is again this confusion between the existing systems in most of India. Most of what is currently India used to be either matriarchal or matrilineal. This system that Shantala was from was a mixture of the two. It's like the queen's children become the next king, but at the same time her partner is the king. So it's like, it's a mixture of the two. It's not exactly purely matriarchal. On the other hand, they still had this thing where the women also went out to war. So anyway, so Shantala's partner, the king, was Biti Deva. And but the thing to remember is that he is king only as long as Shantala is queen, in the sense that it is in Shantala's hands to decide who the king is. So if she decides to divorce him and go off with marry somebody else, then Biti Deva doesn't get to be king anymore in that tradition. So when Shantala fell in love with this sculptor, Biti Deva, he was supposed to have been an amazing king, very, very good, very just, etc. But he panicked. Understandably so, because, in fact, one of the things in Indian traditions is that if you're a great leader, then one of your characteristics as a great leader, funnily enough, is supposed to be able to stay the leader. If you don't have the ability to keep your position, then you're not a great leader. So Biti Deva was a great leader. So this meant that he realized that there is a problem here, that he's going to lose control of the kingdom because Shantala is now in love with somebody else. So what he's supposed to have done is then this is again, like I say, this is what I heard, so please don't be offended. But so he is supposed to have started a skirmish with the neighboring kingdom. Somewhere I read it was the Cholas, but I don't think it was the Cholas. I think it was somebody much less important than them. He's supposed to have started a skirmish with them. Started as in he didn't start it, but he kind of paid. It was like a false flag thing, He kind of paid them to start the fight. But in the process, Shantala had to, and he was a little ill with something or the other, I think from a previous battle. So Shantala, there was no doubt about who has to go and deal with it. So that was Shantala. So she was commanding the army that went to deal with the skirmish. Now she thought it's a few days because she's, busy, very much in love with the sculptor, enjoying the time she's spending talking to him, etc., etc. She goes for what she thinks is a few days. But that few days ends up becoming months and months, like a very long thing, more than 6 months or so, because for some reason these border people, they seem to have a lot of information about Shantala's army, and they seem to have incredible resources. So she's not able to figure out why this is happening. In the meanwhile, Bitti Deva, he was talking to his main minister, whose daughter, by the way, was Lakshmi. She had nothing to do with, she was never Shantala's friend, quite the opposite, in fact. So this man was helping Bitti Deva figure out how to keep power. So, and this minister was a follower of Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya was the person who started this movement, this really amazing movement, where his followers are known as Iyengars. And the reason he started it is that he said that, things like the Vedas, etc., should not be restricted to people of any one jati or, based on birth. It should be anybody can learn it. So he was one of the earliest known reformers. Not earliest, there were many, but he was a great reformer from about that time, which is the time we're talking is about 1,000 years ago. So yeah, Bitti Deva's minister said, if you're willing to marry my daughter, I will ensure that I will call Ramanujacharya, ensure that this conversion happens from this matriarchal, whatever system to the patriarchal system, which means that you get to be king irrespective of who your queen is. So Bitti Deva said, fine. And this is how I know the story, because my mother's people basically converted at the same time that Bitti Deva, supposed to have converted at the same time that Bitti Deva did. And because the conversion happened in a place called Hebbarwadi, they're all called Hebbar Iyengars. Anyway, so Ramanujacharya, poor man, he was in this temple in Tamil Nadu, and at the age of 79, he came all the way across to help Bitti Deva. Again, because Bitti Deva was highly respected. So, he was willing to make that journey. So he came along, and so basically Bitti Deva has to create something against the queen, right? The queen is away somewhere. So the first thing he did was to catch hold of the sculptor. I guess this was not necessarily strategy, but more personal jealousy or whatever you want to call it. He caught hold of the sculptor, came up with some reason for why whatever he was doing was not good. And as punishment, he cut off his hands. There's a whole movie, very nice movie with Rajkumar in it on this. And then he, married Lakshmi, who was the minister's daughter, and spoke to Ramanujacharya and converted to the patriarchal system. So in the meanwhile, Shantala, either finishes that war or realizes that there is this problem happening and comes back. Now, the thing to remember about her is that she was very artistic. I mean, she was a creator, etc., etc. She was a great warrior, no doubt about that. But she had been struggling with depression throughout her life because she did not like the idea of going away from her dance. Basically, it was all about her temple, her dance. She had like a obsession with it pretty much. So she comes back and she finds her temple is gone, ruined. The temple is never created, by the way, completed, by the way. The Gopuram was never put in. So the temple is incomplete. The work has stopped. Her sculptor is either dead or maimed or whatever it is. And there has been this coup. I mean, basically, somebody has taken over. So she, as it is, she was depressed. She couldn't take it. So she did the standard Karnataka, this side of Karnataka, the Deccan Plateau style of killing yourself. I mean, this is not always suicide. This is also like when you decide that you're done with your life you've lived a good life, etc., the standard practice used to be you go to one of these large rocks and you climb up the rock and you sit on top of the rock until the sun, because the rock heats up in the sun, so you kind of die of sunstroke. But being a warrior and more importantly a Bharatanatyam dancer, even though she climbed to the top of the rock, I don't think it killed. I mean, it didn't kill her because she was super fit. So she jumped off. So there is this rock that you can see, you can go to if you like. It's a very scary one called Shantala Drop, which is the place from which she jumped. So she killed herself. And Biti Devan had become Vishnuvardhana. I guess somebody decided Lakshmi's husband should be Vishnuvardhana. So he'd become Vishnuvardhana, and he ruled for quite a while longer. So that is the story of Shantala that I was told. And what I find incredible is that you take a system that is, totally focused on the women as leaders, as warriors, etc. And what the version that, Shama was reading, where suddenly you're talking about he had 5 wives, 6 wives. No, that was not the case. That I am pretty sure that was not the case. The other very interesting thing, and why I think it's sad that these stories are not the ones that are told, is because I think it's important that, you need to see that you can be a great warrior, you can be an incredible dancer, and you can still be depressed. It is not mutually exclusive. That because otherwise one of the standard things with women is that they're either vamps or victims, and or if they're neither, then they are these absolutely perfect beings who just get excellent at everything. So if she's a warrior, she must be the best, she must be super happy, she must be something. But that's not the case. You can still have flaws and problems and still be very good at whatever else you're doing. So I think that's the conclusion I would get from this. Yeah. Okay, so Shama, back to you.
Story, I hadn't heard of it, and I have no idea why these kinds of stories that are being spoken of specifically with respect to history. See, we speak about Purana stories and we are okay with it because we've been told that they are mythology and we're supposed to treat them as mythology. In the process, what happened was our history has always been recorded orally. We have never believed in the fact of writing things from Mahabharata, for that matter. The first version of the Mahabharata, which is called the Karshna Veda, it was not written. You can go see that in Bori. So why wouldn't that same tradition have been continued? We know we speak of the Vedas, we speak of Shrutis which have been, transferred from generations to generations orally, just by being, spoken of. So this is definitely a valid way of understanding Indian history because that has been a traditional way of recording things. And this, as the Macaulay educated, we need to understand that we need to actually unlearn certain aspects and relearn, or rather not relearn, be open to different interpretations of things. And again, like I'm saying, we are not claiming that this is it or idamitham annuva bhava illa. We don't have any such bhava, this is it. No. Question is, let's explore. Let's explore. We are all seekers, so let's explore. With this, we are going to meet you again tomorrow with the Devi of tomorrow and another queen of the South. Thank you.
Thank you.